Is it possible that highly diverse ecosystems may not be as resilient as we once thought? For decades, we believed that biodiversity, the sheer number of different species in an ecosystem, equates to greater resilience. But recent research is calling this claim into question. In today's video, we're going to take a look at some studies that challenge this assumption, explore how they relate to social ecology, and the natural world around us. A study out of MIT by physicist Jeff Gore has raised some intriguing questions. Gore conducted a series of experiments with lab-grown microbial communities, simplified models of ecosystems that avoid the complexities and limitations of studying natural habitats. In these controlled environments, Gore introduced new species into established microbial ecosystems. Surprisingly, these diverse ecosystems were more vulnerable to invasion compared to simpler ones. But it wasn't just about the number of species, it was about the fluctuations in populations over time. The ecosystems that experienced fluctuations were more likely to allow invaders to settle in. This insight challenges traditional views on biodiversity. Charles Elton, an ecologist from the 1950s, argued that more species in an ecosystem meant fewer niches for invaders to exploit, thus ensuring greater resilience. His theory was grounded in the idea that more complex food webs with many species interacting can control invaders. But Gore's experiment suggests otherwise. It turns out that the success of an invader might not just depend on how many niches are filled, it also depends on how an ecosystem's dynamics change over time, how species interact, fluctuate, and potentially create opportunities for new species to settle in. One key takeaway from Gore's study is the concept of survival fraction, a ratio comparing alpha diversity, the diversity of species in a specific ecosystem, to gamma diversity, which covers a broader region. Gore found that the more fluctuating a community's species composition, the more likely it was that new species could coexist with the established ones. But here's the kicker: the more strongly the species interacted, the more likely they were to repel invaders. The role of time is crucial here. Gore's study highlights that ecosystem resilience might not be a static feature. It's not about maintaining a fixed, unchanging balance. Instead, it's about change and how disruptions can lead to alternative steady states. The question now is, could disruptions actually foster new development rather than stagnation? This brings us to a broader issue. Can the findings from microbial ecosystems scale up to larger organisms like trees or animals? To explore this, we look at a 2022 study by Peter Reich from the University of Michigan, which found that tree diversity in wetter climates leads to greater growth. But this effect wasn't observed in drier climates, raising questions about whether the benefits of biodiversity are tied to specific environmental conditions. So we're left with two competing views. On the one hand, biodiversity seems to matter in wetter environments. On the other, Gore's research suggests that fluctuations in ecosystems, rather than just diversity, are crucial for fostering resilience. But what happens when we focus too much on stability? In a 2024 study published in the Innovation Geoscience, researchers examined 53 lake ecosystems and found that while species richness increased over time, it didn't always correlate with higher resilience. In fact, some ecosystems with greater species richness showed decreased resilience before undergoing regime shifts, suggesting that resilience may be more about adaptability and less about maintaining a set number of species. This study further complicates the narrative. We're now seeing that resilience might not be a static trait after all. Instead, it could be about how ecosystems evolve through disruptions. These findings force us to reconsider what we consider to be a successful or strong ecosystem. But here's where things get interesting. Even if you take into account biodiversity's importance, not all species are created equal. Some species play a disproportionate role in maintaining ecosystem balance. These are called keystone species. They don't have to be the most abundant, but their presence or absence has a critical impact on the entire ecosystem. This happened when we introduced wolves into Yellowstone National Park. They didn't just add to the diversity, it dramatically shifted the entire ecosystem structure, affecting everything from plant life to riverbanks. This raises an important point. Maybe the true measure of resilience isn't just how many species an ecosystem has, but which species are driving the system. In some cases, a few keystone species might do more for the stability and health of an ecosystem than a multitude of others. This is why biodiversity, while important, isn't always the answer to resilience. But we can take this concept a step further. What if it's not just species that hold ecosystems together, but the very molecules they produce? In a groundbreaking study published in Science Advances, researchers discovered that certain rare and powerful compounds known as keystone molecules can structure, shape, and alter connections between species and across entire ecosystems. One example comes from the Aldaria sea slugs in California mudflats. These slugs produce a unique chemical cocktail in their slime. When scientists introduced this mixture back into the mudflat, they observed profound effects on other species and the overall nature of the habitat. This suggests that a single, simple molecule can tie together seemingly unrelated species and ecosystem processes. Just as keystone species have outsized effects on their ecosystems, keystone molecules can influence the interactions and behaviors of multiple species, even at low concentrations. This adds a layer of complexity to our understanding of ecological resilience. So let's talk about social ecology and how all of this ties into social ecology, because here on this channel, we're worried about how society can relate to nature and learn to organize from nature. Social ecology is a field pioneered by Murray Bookchin. It's based on the idea that the structure and dynamics of natural ecosystems can inform how we organize society. Just like ecosystems, human societies face challenges of resource distribution, power dynamics, and interdependence. And just as ecosystems are shaped by specific environmental conditions, such as climate, nutrient availability, and species interactions, social movements are shaped by their social conditions, economic realities, political structures, and cultural norms. Change the conditions and you change the movement, just as altering environmental conditions can transform an ecosystem. The concept of unity and diversity in social ecology speaks to the power of collaboration and adaptability. Just as diverse ecosystems may need disruption to foster resilience, human societies might thrive when they allow for change and development, rather than cling to static, unchanging systems. So could the key to resilient ecosystems and societies be learning to embrace fluctuations and disruptions rather than fearing them? Just as nature doesn't maintain a constant equilibrium, perhaps we too should rethink our desire for stability and embrace the dynamic processes that lead to growth and transformation. These insights challenge what we know about biodiversity and resilience, but they also offer a chance for us to rethink how we approach both ecological and social systems. Instead of striving for static balance, we might want to learn from nature's unpredictability and accept that true resilience comes from development, adaptation, and change. Man, thank you so much for watching. What do you think about all this? Do you think there are relationships between biodiversity and resilience? Do you think there's relationships between society and nature? What do you think those are? Should we be focusing more on fostering dynamic ecosystems rather than static ones? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more thought-provoking things, hopefully coming soon on this channel. See you in the next video. Peace.